Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. It appears I've been stood up. Unfortunately, it seems something has caught in the way of Seth to be able to join me this morning, but hopefully we can get him back on this show, and hopefully he joins late. He does have the link still to join me, but we've got to be talking football. So actually, I've put the link to join me in the chat. If you'd like to hop on, it's this StreamYard link. Come ask me some questions. I have no idea. The show sheet was prepared to talk with Seth today. So I actually am not totally prepared to do this show, but we're going to make it work. Join me if you want to ask some questions. Yeah, we'll figure it out. So anyway, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh, yeah. Good morning to you all. Thank you for joining Darnold, Scott, Mark, Semper Fi, Elevated, Mike, Literature, Bach, Brian, Jason, Fantasy Sports, Scott, Mike. What's up, dog? Everyone joining me this morning to talk some football. Again, nothing is prepared for today, but I guess I'll go through the show sheet I did prepare to talk about with Seth. I mean, you've heard a lot of my takes on these subjects already. So we'll see how that goes. It looks like I've actually got a guest joining me right now. They'll need to turn on their camera or maybe just the mic. Only one of them is needed, I believe, their mic or camera, but otherwise I cannot add you to the stream. So today I was going to talk about kind of some recent news, some of the rapid fire news, I guess is what I was going to call it, about JJ McCarthy, Gardner Minshew. Again, you've already heard my takes on this stuff. Sorry, but just to kind of recap, we'll start with the Raiders. Gardner Minshew was named the starting quarterback over the weekend, and that is mostly just going to end up being good news for Davante Adams and really just the rest of the offense being what I'll call fine. What we're looking for in the NFL a lot of the times is just a well-run offense, regardless of how many points it turns into overall for the quarterback position. I do think that Gardner Minshew himself will be able to run this offense well enough to get some points for Davante Adams and also to bring in Zamir White, getting some handoffs and fun stuff like that. Again, I love Gardner Minshew. In fact, I'm probably the biggest Gardner Minshew fan in the entire world. I just like his vibe. It is what it is. But that doesn't necessarily extend to the football field. I do still understand that he's, a bottom half, if not bottom third starting quarterback in the league. But what he does well is find his wide receiver one. And for the most part, he does find himself being able to, run an offense, whether it be handing it off, getting first downs. He's not scoring 30, 40 points a game, but he'll get you to 20, maybe up to 28, not the worst thing in the world. And if you actually go to PlayerProfiler, you will see last night we had a stat of the day, and that was regarding the wide receiver ones under Gardner Minshew. And every single game every single season that Gardner Minshew, every single game that Gardner Minshew played at least 14 games, he has done this. So he's only played 14 or more games as a starting quarterback in 2 seasons, one of them last year. So Michael Pittman had 156 targets and brought in 109 of them for 1,152 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. That led to a wide receiver 13 finish. And then in 2019, when he was the Jaguars quarterback, DJ Chark was the wide receiver one here and had 118 targets, brought in 73 of them for 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and finished as the wide receiver 17. So this is now 2 seasons that we've seen top 18 wide receiver finishes from his wide receiver one. Right now, Davante Adams is going as the wide receiver 16, so he's being valued a little bit higher than that. But I would say that that's still a decent enough value for what Davante Adams can do. I mean, he is about to be, top of the league in targets, probably. 156 for Michael Pittman last year. At least that for Davante Adams is what I would say. I would expect at least 156 targets for that man next year. It's going to be nice. While I'm here, I do still think there's room for Jacoby Myers, but I think his ADP is about right. As we saw from Josh Downs last year, he was still able to get a lot of volume as well as the Colts tight ends. They were able to, pop up here and there, but for the most part, it was going through Michael Pittman. Jonathan Taylor was doing well too. So that's really, it's a Zamir White plus, it's a Devontae Adams plus, and really it's a Raiders plus. Like, this is a team, I think if Aiden O'Connell was starting, they're like 4 or 5 wins. With Gardner Minshew, I think they're a 7 to 10 win team because this defense is pretty good. And we do like what we saw from Antonio Pierce and the rest of the coaching staff last year as well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, I'm excited about Gardner Minshew being the starter. As we know, we can do a little bit of a victory lap here. Gardner Minshew, I've been saying since he was signed in Las Vegas that he would be the starter. I never really bought into Aiden O'Connell once just because it didn't make any sense. Why would Aiden O'Connell start and then bring in Gardner Minshew? Like, if they believed in Aiden O'Connell, they wouldn't have brought in Gardner Minshew. They would have just, I don't know, kept Jimmy Garoppolo or maybe just got like Ryan Tannehill or something. But no, they went to get Gardner Minshew, a true starting quarterback who isn't, winning games, but he's not really losing games either. And I think that's exactly what the Raiders want right now. So if you're in Superflex leagues, you can get Gardner Minshew for like a third. Hey, I think you should do it because, he's got the weapons to be pretty decent. The other bit of recent news I was going to talk about this morning was Seth. And sorry, all of my banners were made for Seth. So we're just having... we're just going to have the plain one today. But JJ McCarthy, his injury, he's out for the season. We've talked about this already, but just to recap, JJ McCarthy is out for the season. Sam Darnold's going to be at the helm. Do I think that you should be drafting Justin Jefferson at his current price? And the answer is yes. Jordan Addison, I don't think is as good as a lot of people are giving him credit for. And plus Sam Darnold, definitely don't think is good enough to distribute the ball to multiple weapons. I really do believe that this Vikings offense is going to just continuously feed Justin Jefferson, regardless of how many people are covering him. This is the best wide receiver in the league. And this is a quarterback who has a good arm. And that's kind of it, Sam Darnold's not a really good quarterback. There's a reason he's been on so many teams. But to give the benefit of the doubt, as we talked about when he was signed in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell and Shanahan are good friends. Like, they've worked together a lot. They look at football very similarly. Like, this is a friendship of coaches, right? So I don't think that, Shanahan would let Kevin O'Connell sign Sam Darnold if he didn't at least slightly believe in him. Because as we know, Sam Darnold was on the 49ers last year. He was okay when he came in, not great, but okay. And I'm sure that he has, taken at least a little bit of a step forward sitting under Shanahan and Purdy in that San Francisco offense last year, now going to a similar offense in Minnesota with a similar head coach and a similar system. I think that he will be decent. So I do think that Sam Darnold is worth acquiring in Superflex, but more so for redraft. A lot of people are saying, could this be the next Geno Smith? Could this be the next Baker Mayfield? And my answer is no. Sam Darnold, the difference between this and the Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield career revival is the fact that if Sam Darnold does break out this year, he's going to have to get his next chance on another team. Like, the Vikings are still very much invested in JJ McCarthy. And when JJ McCarthy returns next year, he's going to be the starter. So Sam Darnold isn't really fighting for a medium level contract, like a 3-year contract, like a Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield got, because he's not a bridge quarterback on a team. Sam Darnold was supposed to just come in for a little bit this year and then let JJ McCarthy take the reins over at some point. So that, I don't think that Sam Darnold is really going to earn another contract with the Vikings through this. And that's why I don't want to really invest in him in Dynasty unless I'm competing, because if Sam Darnold does break out this year and get back on track, a lot of it's going to be, okay, he was on a Kevin O'Connell system, throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson whenever he returns, right? So I don't think an NFL team is going to feel very confident. Just the whole sample of Sam Darnold's career is going to outweigh whatever good may happen this year. So I would say maybe fade Darnold in Dynasty unless you're competing and you really need a quarterback in a Superflex league. Say you've got JJ McCarthy, say maybe you even have Justin Jefferson and you just want him. He's going to be good. We saw last year Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, even Jaron Hall was pretty damn good in this offense. So I mean, he's going to score some fantasy points for sure. But I don't think this is a long-term investment at all because, again, even if he does break out here in Minnesota, I don't think another team's going to take a chance on him. And even if he does, it's not going to be as good of a situation as it was this year. So I just want to temper expectations there. But I do think it's still going to be a really, really good season for Justin Jefferson, especially in the volume department. I would probably still do this. I would still take Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, and CD Lamb over Justin Jefferson, but I would be taking JJ over Tyreek Hill. And you guys know that's just because I don't like Tyreek Hill's price. I think it's worth it, right? Like, I understand what type of upside and ceiling Tyreek Hill can bring, but I do also understand what type of floor he can bring, which is, 0 points. So I would rather just not invest in Tyreek Hill in early first-round draft capital and take a chance on a Justin Jefferson a little bit later for me. And that's just a me thing. You don't have to follow that advice. I would recommend you do, as I think that Tyreek Hill's best season was last year, as we're now hearing all the reports that, the Miami Dolphins purposefully tried to get him up to 2,000 receiving yards last year, which is, a whole nother topic in itself. And you know what? I didn't have it on the show sheet. No, you can still join. You can still join, Bach. Here's the link. We're going to get you guys in here because I'm running out of steam. I have no idea what to talk about, but we're just going to riff. We're going to keep riffing. So that's the Viking stuff. Don't invest in Sam Darnold the long term, but if you want him for this year, I think it's a fine rental. Still be buying Justin Jefferson. Definitely be buying Justin Jefferson. It's going to be awesome. A really, really high volume season, which we haven't. I mean, we've seen high volume seasons from him, but I think this might be the year where he gets the most targets. Like, he could legit have multiple 20+ target games this year. Like, he is going to get so many targets, especially early in the year. So I want Justin Jefferson every single chance I can get. I don't think I want Jordan Addison at his cost. I'd rather take a chance on some other wide receivers and the backfield. Aaron Jones is probably worth it. I'm sure that he'll catch a good bit of passes right now. So anyway, that's where I'm at in that. I have it looks like a little friend joining me on the show. Bach from the chat. How's it going?
What's going on?
Nothing too much, man. Jason? Thanks for joining me. You got a fantasy football take for me? Oh.
Malik Washington.
Okay. You just want to hear about him?
Crashed here.
Oh, sorry. Happens.
There we go. No, I just wanted to say Malik Washington, we've got injuries to a couple wide receivers. So there's lots of stuff going on there where he has an opportunity to make a spot for himself.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year in Miami, right? Braxton Berrios and the other wide receiver that the name is slipping my mind right now. They had some weeks where they actually came in and were productive. And Malik Washington had the most receptions in college football last year. Really, really good slot type receiver. I do think, especially if an injury happens, that Malik Washington is a nice sleeper for sure. That's worth taking and putting at the end of our bench, especially in Dynasty. But even in redraft, he has some upside given Tyreek Hill's age and even given Jalen Waddle's injury history. So that's
River
a nice.
Craycraft is now hurt too.
Craycraft, that's the name that I couldn't remember. Yes, Craycraft had some big weeks too. So Malik Washington, it's not talked about enough. Again, led college football in receptions last year at Virginia. Hyper productive wide receiver, really, really good route runner. Definitely a nice little sleeper there. So thanks for that one. Any other takes before I get? It looks like Dustin wants to join.
Well, definitely Flournoy, of course. I want to hear about him again.
You want to hear some more Ryan Flournoy? Yeah, guys, you know it. I love myself some Ryan Flournoy. Finally got himself the first preseason touchdown. He's going to get another this weekend, and he's going to break out this season, the Cowboys wide receiver 2 for sure. So thanks a lot for joining me, Bach. You have a good day, man. Thanks for helping fill the space.
You too, brother. Enjoy it.
All right, now we got Dustin joining me. How's it going, man? What's your take?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. I can hear you.
Awesome. Actually, I am in a 12-team redraft league here, kind of old school, 6 point per passing touchdown.
Nice.
No tight end premium, just 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flex. And we are wrapping up here. I'm at the 14-4, okay?
Okay.
So I went a little different this time because I'd been going kind of 0 RB. I'm on the Javonte and Brian Robinson train all day. You know what I'm saying? But I went kind of bully here. I went Jonathan Taylor, ETN, traded back in the second, grabbed Josh Allen, Cooper Kupp, Pitts, Godwin, Javonte, Williams on Detroit, Curtis Samuel, Palmer, Goddard fell to the 12th round. I had to grab him.
Yeah.
I grabbed Tyrone Tracy.
Okay.
So, wanted to see if we could make a pick here. So, in my queue, I have Braylon Allen, Demarcus Robinson, Jalen Tolbert. Gabe Davis is sitting here. And I don't know if I could take Gabe Davis.
I mean, I
over
like
Demarcus Robinson.
I would go Gabe Davis over Demarcus Robinson personally. I know it sucks saying that, but Gabriel Davis has definitely done one thing right, and that's he scored some damn touchdowns in Buffalo. And I do think that in Jacksonville, given that only Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk are returning, that there is room for someone else. And I do think that Gabe Davis, while you're never really going to know when it comes, is still going to be nice. And I mean, you're in the 14th round. The type of upside that you're bringing is fine by me, especially since you already started off your draft with ETN. It sounds like, you get some extra Jaguars going on your squad is probably what I'd be doing.
He is giving me major Jordan Matthews vibes from when Peterson was, previously.
Yeah,
just a big-bodied guy that he can just chuck the ball at,
For sure. I mean, he's, I wouldn't say quite as big as a Jordan Matthews. That guy was something else, but he's definitely a red zone target that I think could be huge for this offense and a pretty decent route runner at that. So
I compared him on Player Profiler, 1 inch difference, weight, the similar athleticism, though completely different.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's where I'd be going there. If it burns you, it burns you. But with the running back start, I would like to go wide receiver here, especially at this point in the draft. You've already got J-Mo. You might as well get another boomer bust guy and just have some upside swings on your flex spot throughout the season.
That's what I decided to do. Just go like bully running back floor, and then just shoot for the moon with the flex spots.
Sounds good, dude. Cool.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for joining me. And you have a good day.
You too, bud.
Thanks. And ladies and gentlemen, Seth Diewold is here. He made it. How's it going, man?
Better late than never, huh? Better late than never. I apologize to the chat, to you. I don't know what happened. Like, I swear to God, this never happens to me. I'm always up and at 'em by I'm just gonna tell when in doubt, you got to tell the truth.
Yeah,
I'm up at 6 a.m. just about every day, and today, because my dogs get me up, I was up at 6, fed him. I was like, I'm just gonna lay down for another half an hour because man, I'm kind of tired. My wife and I are both kind of getting over this sinus thing.
Yeah.
And then I woke up at 9:10, and I'm like, no, Jason's show. I'm so sorry. So I apologize to you. But yeah, we can pick up wherever we are in the show sheet. I'm ready for whatever.
Actually, we've gotten to the takes portion of the show. I went through the news.
I just show up at the right time, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, the perfect time really is when you've joined. I riffed on Gardner Minshew and the Vikings long enough. Some chat joined me, as you saw. So that was shout out to those guys for helping answer some questions and keeping this train rolling. Seth, I'm glad you're here, man. I am. And no problem at all. I sent you a text. I said, just join when you can. I know that so many things going on this part of the year, and you're also an hour behind. So I get it. Not a big deal at all. I did want to ask you, though. We're here in the middle of the preseason, and the Bears are going crazy so far, and you're the Bears fan, the resident Bears fan. So I just wanted to ask you, I wanted to hype up some Caleb Williams. Is he the biggest winner of preseason so far? And the Chicago Bears as a whole?
Yeah, he's got to be up there, man. And it's compounded because Hard Knocks is going on right now, and so we get this insider look at Caleb Williams' rookie year. And we have to remember, though, I mean, yeah, we see the highlights on Twitter. We see him rolling out to his left, finding Roma Dunze deep down the field. Everybody's seen that highlight, but he did kind of struggle, at least for the first few drives in week 2 against the Bengals. And Eberflus, the plan was for them just to go out in the first quarter, but Eberflus made him go back out, for a little bit longer. And I'm happy he did, because then we get to see more Caleb Williams. And
yeah,
honestly, there are going to be some ups and downs for sure, because he's a rookie. but God, it really feels, and this is not coming from a fantasy perspective, but just from a pure fan perspective, it feels like the Bears have found a quarterback, because I've always said about quarterbacks, as a fan, you know you have a good quarterback, or you know that you have somebody that you trust when, okay, down 7, you're getting the ball late in the fourth quarter. Do you feel good about your chances? And Caleb Williams still has to answer a lot of questions, but I think as of right now, if that happens in week 1, the Bears fans are like, let's go. Like, and I don't think we've ever felt that way.
No, I mean, and the Bears, it's not like they've had bad quarterbacks. You know, they haven't ever had like, you know, one of the top ones, but it's not like Kyle Orton, Jay Cutler, Rex Grossman were the worst quarterbacks in the world. They were fine. But Caleb Williams is just a whole nother special talent. I'm very, very excited to see what he could bring this year, especially for my Roma Dunze, DeAndre Swift shares. Are we finding some fantasy gold in this offense set?
Oh yeah. I love DJ Moore. I have DJ Moore ranked way higher than where he's going in ESPN, Yahoo leagues. I think I have DJ Moore ranked as my 18th player because of the yak ability and the touchdown upside. People like the targets are going to be consolidated, but there's going to be a lot more targets because the Bears ranked 28th in the National Football League in team pass plays per game. They were not airing it out a ton with Justin Fields. So that means that the pie is going to be bigger. Obviously, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. Like Cole Kmet's probably the biggest loser in all of this because they brought over Gerald Everett. Yeah. So RIP to Cole Kmet, because I think that time's going to be split a little bit more than we might think. But Roma Dunze is the one I'm a little bit concerned about just in year 1, just based on, and I don't know if it's a perfect comparison, but just looking at what Shane Waldron did with JSN last year, and they have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. That's just going to be tough. But I will say this, you know, Keenan Allen is 31 years old. He's probably going to miss a few games. So it's one of those things like Roma Dunze in best ball. I'm totally fine with it. Roma Dunze in managed, he's actually going really late in ESPN and Yahoo leagues.
Yes.
So I'm actually fine with it in both, because where he's going, I checked yesterday and I was doing a research for a video I'm doing on my channel. He's going 88th in Yahoo, and I think he's going around the same in ESPN. So like, it's all about ADPs here. So I'm a little bit more worried about a Dunze than Allen or DJ Moore. But honestly, the ADPs for all the players, even for Keenan Allen, I'm totally fine with all 3.
Even DJ Moore, I'm starting to come around with. I've actually, to talk about Fast Draft for a second, I have like 30-something% DJ Moore based on my turbo mode orders and where I have him ranked. And I've never thought myself as like a DJ Moore overweight kind of guy. Like I've never really been on board with him really. And even this year, I like, everyone will tell you Roma Dunze has been the Bears wide receiver I've been after the most. And yet I just keep finding myself pressing the DJ Moore button at his value. I mean, like he's going after like a Michael Pittman, for example. And I mean, you know, it's just a more pass volume offense. And I mean, he's coming off a huge year and just got extended. So I like everyone in the Bears offense. I will say, to your point about the wide receivers, personally, we'll see how it turns out. But personally, I'm really hoping and thinking that Keenan Allen will be the JSN kind of guy that you know, the odd man out throughout the season. Maybe not early, but I'm expecting some big things from Roma Dunze for sure. And I think I glossed over it a little bit ago, but I think that DeAndre Swift is up for a huge year this year. And maybe it's just that one screen kind of catch in the first preseason game that got me really, really excited. But I'm like, we're not hearing anything about Khalil Herbert. I don't think Roschon Johnson is happening, unfortunately. Like, it just seems that DeAndre Swift is kind of one of the understated winners of this offense right now.
I agree, man. And people are going to accuse me of being a Bears homer, but I did a full set of projections this year, and DeAndre Swift I have ranked, I think, 8 spots above consensus as far in terms of running back rankings, because last year he had career lows in targets, receptions, and touchdowns. and he was number 22 in targets amongst running backs last year. I don't see that happening again. I would see it being closer to his career average, and if it goes closer to his career average, especially if you're in PPR leagues, like Caleb Williams is not Jalen Hurts. Caleb Williams is a tactical scrambler. So he's gonna target DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. And Ryan Poles is saying nothing but good things about him in training camp. So
Yeah.
I'm all for DeAndre Swift. Like, I'm really pro Bears, and I know that's a huge shocker to people. I'm pro Bears in these fantasy drafts, but I think there's a lot of data and good thinking behind it.
I do too. They're like it's like it's something I noticed last year, right? Where like Cooper Kupp, for example, was going in the first round prior to his injury, but then you could get every single Ram way late. And something's not adding up. So this year, it's the same thing. You look at the Bears offense, and everyone agrees that Caleb Williams is a top 8 quarterback in ADP, right? Like he's going super early. And yet the rest of his weapons really aren't. So where's the disconnect there? And that's where I think that you can find a lot of great value in fantasy football. If one player is like way higher ranked than the rest of the team, then that's how you know something isn't adding up. And like DeAndre Swift is like RB 18 or something crazy. Rome Odunze going after Brian Thomas Jr. and Keon Coleman right now. Like I really don't get it. And I think that there's going to be a lot of value to be had in this Bears offense. Seth, I wanted to make sure we talked Bears. So is there anything else you want to add about them before we move on?
No, I think you did a nice job getting it all out. So but I think you make good points. I think all these Bears, especially like if you go in these home league drafts. So like I'm really digging in deep to these home league rankings, and I know like just by the way, like these home league rankings are whack, man. Like comparatively to Underdog and Player Profilers rankings, like you gotta be. Like just go look at Underdog ADP versus Yahoo or ESPN or Sleeper or wherever you're like you have to look at that before you do your home league draft, because you're gonna find some insane values and you're gonna be just able to crush these drafts. So no, you did a fantastic job setting the ball up on a tee for me there, Jason. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. I can't have Seth on and not talk the Bears. I'm so excited to talk the Bears. This Hard Knocks is getting me excited. It's making me want to go up to Chicago is all I'm going to say. I'm getting pretty excited. And it's taken me all off season to get here. I've never really been there, but it's just everything. It's just getting exciting, man. It just seems right.
Yeah.
It just really does. So the Bears, we're going to call one of the biggest winners of the offseason, if not the biggest winner. Who's been a biggest loser? Could be a team, could be a player, but who are you souring on?
Man, it really started out good for like Justin Fields and the Steelers, and even to an extent George Pickens, and I'm still pro George Pickens, but this Steelers situation, I read yesterday that their offensive line's not playing very well.
Yep.
And I know better than anybody if the offensive line's not playing well with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson at quarterback, I think this team's going to be in some trouble. Throw in the fact that they're playing in a really tough division with the Browns, the Ravens, heck, the Bengals. The Bengals made Caleb Williams look pedestrian for the first few drives, and that was their backups. So I think the Bengals defense is going to be better than we think. And I'm just seeing Justin, like, really, is Justin Fields going to be the guy? Because Matt Babbage and I went off on a rant. Like, he's going to be great for fantasy. Like, if Justin Fields is the starter, like, you want him in fantasy. Like, I'm not trying to rail on Justin Fields because he was always a great fantasy quarterback. I just don't know how long they'll stick with them, because I'm seeing a lot of the same things from Justin Fields in preseason that we saw as Bears fans from him. And it's very inconsistent. There's a lot of flashes, but man, Mike Tomlin's probably going to get this team to 500 because he always does. But this team, you just look at the offensive side of the ball, Jaylen Warren's banged up now. Like Najee Harris, I'm not a huge believer in. The offensive line, like I said, is not playing very well. we'll see. I'm more down on the Steelers than I thought I would be. I was at the beginning of the offseason, I was really riding the George Pickens hype train.
Yeah.
Now I'm not so sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I have been one of George Pickens' biggest fans all career, mostly because I'm here in Georgia. And, you know, he graduated around the time like the year after I did, he came out. And a lot of my friends went to UGA and they just love George Pickens. Like, they're like, this guy's going to be a true stud. He's one of the best wide receivers in this rookie class. And I just bought into it. You know, this is a true dog. He's an alpha type mentality, but I hate his value right now. I just do. Wide receiver 20 on Player Profiler's Dynasty rankings. I can't do it. I actually did trade him this year for DK Metcalf plus. And it's just like, I can't, like, I love that offer. I can't keep George Pickens at his current value because we've seen the wide receiver 1 struggle immensely in an Arthur Smith offense. And even without Arthur Smith, it's been pretty split between George Pickens and Deontay Johnson historically. And I know there's no one else there really. Roman Wilson picking up an injury and Pat Freiermuth not really being much, and Van Jefferson being the other guy. So I understand the argument there, but there's just, as big time Timmy Jim, who's usually here in the chat, has said, around this range of wide receiver, he likes to call it the super tier, like wide receiver 20 to wide receiver 40 something. And I love that term because there's really no difference in any of the wide receivers in this range. And when you can take the one at the top, the George Pickens, and get some nice cherries on top and not lose much seasonal production, I just think you have to do it because now you're talking about Justin Fields probably being the quarterback, or Russell Wilson, who was struggling to make even Cortland Sutton good last year and who struggled in the preseason game, giving up sack after sack after sack. So I agree with you there. It sucks because George Pickens is just so much fun to watch. But I just think he's at his ceiling. I don't know what he would have to do to pass a Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman, Devontae Smith, DJ Moore. Like, he's not that wide receiver, unfortunately, on this offense right now. To me, he's not. So I think that's a really good call. I will ask, are you buying, I think it's fine to buy Justin Fields. I think it's fine to buy Pat Freiermuth and the running backs. Are you there?
Yeah, Justin Fields for sure. Justin Fields, and if anybody's souring on Jalen Warren, I think Jalen Warren at the end of the day is going to be the most productive running back from a fantasy perspective because he's going to get the targets. Mm-hmm. And we saw about a 70-30 split, like Najee Harris. Like Najee Harris, when he was really good his rookie year, I believe he led the league in targets amongst running backs because Big Ben was just giving him all those dump offs. That is not happening with Jalen Warren at running back. And I get it. Like Najee Harris is ranked a little bit further down the ADP list, but Jalen Moore, if they're on the board at the same time, even with the injury, I'm still pressing the button on Jalen Warren. But we'll see. I don't know if you agree or not, but
I'm definitely not a Harris guy, but I get it with Jalen Warren. Like, he is the more explosive, the more elusive, the more athletic, but Najee Harris he has the durability and the frame and the consistent production and high enough floor to where I'm just attracted to that. But I do love the upside swing of Warren for sure. Like, I get it. Yeah.
And they very well could, like Najee Harris, they very well could let him fall into the end zone 10 times. And then, I look like an idiot. So I just chase the targets, that's fair. My whole argument.
No, and I think that Jalen Warren will definitely be probably the better asset in PPR. But half PPR standard, I just think, especially with them not picking up the 5th-year option of Najee, I think they're just going to run that man into the ground. Like, they are just going to literally kill him and use every single tread left on that tire because I don't think they're going to extend him. Like, I don't think he really showed enough for the team other than being able to be there and remain healthy for the most part. I don't think he was ever really explosive enough. But to his point, that is what we said about Derrick Henry the first few years of his career too. So, sometimes it does kind of take a minute to get up there.
Najee Harris is not Derrick Henry. Jason, come on. I
know. Yeah. He's the king for a reason. So we'll go ahead and move on from this conversation. I will say, I guess, lastly, Daijun Edwards. He's the 4th string running back on this offense behind Cordero right now. But he did impress me at the Senior Bowl. So if you're in a mega super deep league, this is someone who could go into an offense that runs the ball a lot if injuries fall his way. And he's a pretty patient runner out of UGA, lots of good vision. every single game that he played, or he scored it. Every single game he scored a touchdown. He actually scored at least 2. He never had any single-digit touchdown games. Like, dude was just electric at UGA. Always, it was either 0 or 2. It was really weird to look at his box scores, but he is a true stud. Good little running back there, but definitely buried on the depth chart. So that is preseason training camp reactions. Let's move into making some money, Seth. And this is the best time to do it. We've got just a few more weeks until the season kicks off. Actually, just a couple more. And so we want to know who you're buying. Who's your number one buy right now?
Well, I really don't understand this, because the only thing, and I think I'm going to make you happy here, the only thing that really makes sense to me is people are scared. And when people are scared, that's an opportunity. And I'm not scared of trading for Kyle Pitts right now.
Let's fucking go!
Because honestly, Matt Babbage and I had a huge debate on the Dynasty Roundtable. He's pro Trey McBride. I am pro Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts is my tight end 2 in Dynasty, because if there's any tight end out there, and I know some people are going to think I'm crazy, like, come on, you got to have Dalton Kincaid, you got to have Trey McBride. It's like all these tight ends. I mean, Matt Babbage was trying to argue, oh, but Trey McBride, actually did something last year. Yeah, like for a half of a season. Kyle Pitts actually has 1,000 receiving yards as a tight end on his resume too. I mean, so I think those two things cancel out. Yeah. Tight end 7 overall is not that impressive. I mean, Cole Kmet, I think, finished as tight end 8 or tight end 9 last year or something like that. So we're talking about over a full season with Kirk Cousins, with the only other pass catchers in the offense, really Drake London and Bijan Robinson. And we're not sure, like, we think Bijan Robinson's going to get targeted out of the backfield. He should get targeted out of the backfield. But when we're talking just pass catchers and you're trying to divide up the pie of the targets, it's Darnell Mooney. Rondell Moore's out, I think.
He's out for the year.
He's out for the year. Yeah. So I thought I read that somewhere. All the information in the brain.
Yeah, but the smaller players, you kind of just forget about them, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. But and then you go on down the depth chart, like it's really just Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts is the primary pass catchers, and Darnell Mooney is going to be a field stretcher, so that's going to help out Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Sure, he's going to have some spike weeks because Kirk Cousins great at throwing the deep ball, but that's going to help out Kyle Pitts and Drake London as well. This offense should be amazing. Oh, by the way, the offensive line's fantastic. So Kirk Cousins is going to have all day back there to survey the field and find these just mega athletes. Like, please look at Kyle Pitts' profile on Player Profiler, and you tell me how this guy's not going to finish as the tight end 1 overall. Like, because that's his upside. Not only that, his upside is I'm going to be the tight end 1 for the next 5 years. Like he could take the tight end 1 crown and just run away with it, Jason. He could just run away with it.
Yeah. Look at it.
Yeah.
Just look at it.
He's 6'6", 245 pounds, and runs a 4.5. That's crazy.
That's the thing. I mean, I went on Mind a Mansion last week, and my hot take was that Kyle Pitts not only outproduces Drake London, but finishes as the tight end 1 again. I mean, because to me, this is a player that you can build your offense around. There are no Kyle Pittses in the NFL. He is a unicorn. There's no player like him. You build an offense around that type of player, especially if you're a new creative kind of head coach, offensive coordinator, both being promoted, coming in wanting to make a splash on a team that has not made any splashes at all recently, that is just dying for some playmaking. Kyle Pitts is going to be a stud this year. My favorite thing, and this has nothing to do with football, but good news, everyone. Huge news. Kyle Pitts is officially a father. His wife gave birth this summer, so this is the first year of dad Kyle Pitts energy. And as we've seen, that usually elevates production. You know, we see this every year. Like, oh, this guy he had a kid this week, and then what do you see? Oh, he scores a touchdown that week. Like it's a funny off the field thing. But I'm totally in on Kyle Pitts this year. You didn't sell me, but I hope you sold the rest of the audience. I've been there already, but I love the take. I really do. I mean, he's younger than Dalton Kincaid and Trey McBride. Younger. Younger.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm looking on Keep Trade Cut right now. You can trade supposedly, and this is not tight end premium, so I'll just go a little bit further down the list. Like you could potentially trade or I'll go up the list rather. Like Michael Pittman for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Or a 2025 mid first for Kyle Pitts. Cool. I'm done. Like, and this is according to Keep Trade Cut. I understand these deals might not be available in your leagues, especially if the Kyle Pitts owner is really high on Kyle Pitts, but you get what I'm saying. He is acquirable. He's not untouchable because of the last 2 seasons. And now we're entering into a situation that's completely different. Just completely like Zach Robinson's the offensive coordinator. Kirk Cousins, like he's from the Sean McVay tree. I think people have said that like 10,000 times on 10,000 different shows, but so you understand by now, but it's just a completely different playing field now. And like my buddy and mine, and we're talking about how NFL teams should build their rosters. And with these contract disputes that we're seeing with CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase and these elite wide receivers, as an NFL franchise, like I think it's going to boost up some of these playmakers at running back and tight end because, okay, well, you got an RB or a TE next to your name. We'll just split you out wide in the slot and use you like a wide receiver if you have those skills. And Kyle Pitts is basically a big freaking wide receiver playing tight end, which is exactly what we want for fantasy. It's just the stars are just aligning for him just to absolutely crush this year.
Yeah. I mean, as a rookie, his rookie season, we talked about 1,000 yards. He had 110 targets. He ran the 4th most routes. He was 2nd in air yard share, average target distance, had the 3rd most deep targets, was 5th in unrealized air yards, 7th in yards after catch, had the 3rd most receiving yards, was 3rd in yards per target, 1st in yards per reception, 4th in yards per route run. I mean, we are talking about a mega stud, and you can get him for cheap right now, at least compared to what he can bring. You can downgrade your McBrides, your Kincaids, your Bowers. You can trade a rookie catching the ball from Gardner Minshew on the same offense as Devontae Adams for Kyle Pitts. It's ridiculous. Get this man while you still can. Thank you for giving me some more confirmation bias, Seth. Who are you selling?
This kind of pains me because I like the player, but we're talking fantasy football here. I am very skeptical about the long-term viability of Tank Dell, especially in the offense that he's in. And I get it. CJ Stroud's awesome. I was wrong about CJ Stroud back in the day. I think a lot of people were. But we're talking about a player who's, I'm looking 5'8", 165 pounds. He played in 11 games last year. He was hurt, I believe, 3 times. He had a concussion in week 5, calf strain, and then the broken fibula eventually finished his season. And I love the offense he's in, but for this year, he's the wide receiver 3, according to some reports.
Yeah.
I have questions about his long-term durability. I think he's an electric playmaker. But where he's being evaluated in Dynasty, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, he's ranked above Kyle Pitts. He's the player number 52, according to Keep Trade Cut. And if you're telling me I can get, it's a mid 2025 first plus for him, which is what Keep Trade Cut's telling me, or if you're telling me I can get Zay Flowers for him plus some, if I can get Rashee Rice for him plus something else, he's just it just doesn't, heck, even Xavier Worthy plus for him. Like, I'm just scrolling down the list of receivers and I just keep going, yeah, I'd probably prefer him plus something extra. Yeah, I'd probably prefer him plus something extra. So as much as I do like Tank Dell, so it's always hard giving a sell, but Tank Dell I think is my number 1 sell in Dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a little overvalued. Like, I do think Nico Collins should be ahead of him, but I am still kind of firm in my stance that there is enough volume to go around for all 3 of these receivers this year. Like, if you add up their target shares last season, you only get 75%. Stephon Diggs 30, and then Nico Collins and Tank Dell averaged about 45% between the two. So there's still like, there's enough volume for these guys. And I mean, Tank Dell, for what it's worth, his injury that held him out the rest of the season did come when he was run blocking, and just kind of a freak injury that shouldn't really have happened in the first place. So hopefully they keep him off that type of usage. I can't, but I do agree, slightly overvalued, slightly. I would probably move him. We have him at wide receiver 24 at Player Profiler. I would probably move him to like 27. 28, like right behind Deebo Samuel, ahead of Xavier Worthy, or maybe like right behind Xavier Worthy. I think I do like getting Xavier Worthy plus for him. I think that's a really fun move, but I do still think he's going to be productive. And I mean, CJ Stroud has already come out multiple times and said that he's his favorite wide receiver in the league. And like, if he had to pick one player to throw to on third down, like it would go to Tank Dell. I've got to kind of buy into that, but I mean, you're right. His frame and play style is definitely concerning in terms of longevity. I mean, he is already 25. Like, he did come out late. Yep. Like that's also a little underreported when we're talking Tank Dell here. But you know, Stephon Diggs is only a 1-year rental. So I do think like maybe sell him right now, maybe buy back into Tank Dell when he drops a little bit in season. And then when Stephon Diggs is gone, you're talking about him and Nico Collins, like both getting 30% target shares. I think it'll be pretty nice. But I think right now is a good selling window for sure. And you can get back into him a little bit cheaper in season. So that's your buy. That's your sell. Who's a sleeper you're looking at right now?
Oh, man. Sleeper in terms of, I mean, like, man, that's a great question. I want to say Jalen Wright, but does he count as a sleeper?
He does.
I don't know if he counts.
He does.
Okay. Because I would say how I quantify sleepers, and I never want to get in trouble because, you know, sometimes people are looking like for players you can pick up off the waiver wire as sleepers. Yeah. So I'll give two, and these will help in your home league. So I'll say Jalen Wright, because look at the running backs in front of him. Like, the running backs in front of him, obviously Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert.
Yep.
And I think people think, oh, if you're pro Jalen Wright, you're anti, Devon Achane. Well, I don't think that necessarily has to be the case. What if Jason, Jalen Wright is just the new Raheem Mostert? What if he's just going to take that job? Because we all know Raheem Mostert is not going to score 21 touchdowns this year. It's just not going to happen.
No, I don't know.
And he's probably going to also get banged up at some point too. So I think the way this backfield works, and to keep Devon Achane healthy throughout the entire season, they're really banking on somebody like Jalen Wright being the guy going forward, the RB2 in the offense. And we know this Miami offense is right up there with San Francisco's in terms of efficiency. So they're going to have a ton of big plays. And I think if Raheem Mostert goes down, heck, even if Raheem Mostert stays healthy, there's a lot of upside and a lot of contingent upside, to use that buzzword, the contingency factor. The contingent upside of the player is very, very high as well. And you can get him, I think, in the 150s. Yeah. So that's a player that's super underrated. And if you want a cheat code sleeper, somebody who's injured right now, but could absolutely have a mega role in the offense, is Keaton Mitchell. Like, if you take Keaton Mitchell in the 200s or wherever he's going with your last pick, stick him in the IR and pick up somebody else. Like, because Keaton Mitchell in the back half of the season, like, look up his stats on Player Profiler. Just like, it was 47 carries, but it was a grand 47 carries. It was, and Keaton Mitchell, and this be true for Dynasty too. Like, Keaton Mitchell's very much built like a Devon Achane. He's 5'8", he's 180 pounds. He's a little bit lighter than Achane, but he averaged 8.4 yards per carry last year. He had 9 receptions for 93 yards, scored a couple touchdowns. He only played in 8 games, but you extrapolate that out for a full season, and like, this is a super productive player who's 22 years old, runs a 4.37, very similar to Devon Achane in terms of playing style. And we know the Ravens love to run the football more than anybody else. So there's a couple sleepers for you. Hopefully I did my job well.
No, I like both of those. I mean, we're seeing in the NFL now this Keaton Mitchell, well, really the Devon Achane archetype, but just these undersized running backs with home run hitting speed are really starting to make a name for themselves. And I mean, like Rasheen Ali hasn't done anything behind Derrick Henry. Justice Hill is Justice Hill. Keaton Mitchell is injured right now. Don't get me wrong. Like I think he's probably going to end up on PUP, but when he comes back, he's going to be an incredible lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. And we saw in Tennessee last year, like they were giving Tyjae Spears over 50% of the snaps and keeping Derrick Henry back. And I mean, like, I don't necessarily think that that's what Baltimore is going to do, but I don't think they're going to keep Derrick Henry on there for more than 80%. You know, like there'll still be some opportunities for these other backs, for Lamar Jackson to get some carries as well, of course. But I do like the Keaton Mitchell pick. I mean, he's going to be, like I said, the lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder, and you can get him so cheap. And the bonus is, like he said, you could just throw him on IR. He's literally not even taking up a roster spot, like really at all. You're going to have to cut someone to pick him up, but then you can pick that player right back up the next day. So I that's a really fun move. And Jalen Wright, I mean, I have him as my rookie RB3 in this class behind Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks, just because I love that landing spot. You mentioned the contingent upside, but I mean, we saw last year, Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, neither of them had over 51% of opportunities. Like there was a committee in Miami. And I think that there's going to be opportunity for all three of these running backs on a week-to-week basis. And the bonus for Jalen Wright is he's 210 pounds. He's got the weight that the Mostert and the Achane just don't. He has the durability on top of the home run hitting speed. And another point is that Devon Achane reportedly is working in the slot a lot at Dolphins training camp. So if they're going to be using him as a receiver, there's going to be times where Wright is in the backfield or Mostert's in the backfield. So I think there's room for all three, but especially Jalen Wright, who they traded a next year's third to get. Like they gave up a third-round pick next year to be able to get him because they believed in him that much. And I don't think that this is just a 2025 play, a Raheem Mostert replacement. I think there's room in him for this offense regardless of an injury. But if an injury happens to either Mostert or Achane, I mean, you're talking about a massive return on the investment. Incredible sleeper. Love all of your picks, Seth. You have come into Wake and Take with the fire this morning. It's been awesome. It's been awesome. So you've got your buy, you've got your sell, you've got your sleeper. What about your hot take, man?
Oh man, if it's not Bears related, I mean, come on. I'm not gonna go in the direction that you think though.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go Caleb Williams. I'm not even gonna touch DJ Moore. Fantastic values. Like they're definitely gonna be some of my home league drafts that I just stack up the Bears and people are gonna laugh at me. But I think I'll make the playoffs with that at least. I think DeAndre Swift's a top 10 running back this year in fantasy football because he's going to get the targets. Like if we look back at Swift's career and especially like his early years, there were a couple things that we talked about. One, you remember the Lions traded him for basically a pick swap?
Yeah.
The Lions who are really good now and have Jahmyr Gibbs, and they took Jahmyr Gibbs with one of those first round picks and we were laughing at him. They look kind of smart now because I really think there's something to this. Hey, wide receivers are expensive. Okay, what positions aren't expensive that we can use as wide receivers? You know, like running backs and tight ends. I think there's something to that we need to pay attention to from here on out. But if you go back to 2020 with DeAndre Swift and you just count up the targets, right? 2020, he had 57 targets. He was 13th amongst running backs. In 2021, 78 targets, 4th amongst running backs. 2022, 70 targets, 10th amongst running backs. And last year, in the season where he actually played 16 games, he only had 49 targets. He was 22nd amongst running backs. That doesn't add up. And I already said Caleb Williams is not Jalen Hurts. They're not going to run the tush push, at least not as much as the Eagles ran it. I doubt if they run it with Caleb Williams much at all. He's going to get more than 6 touchdowns. He's going to have more than 49 targets. It's probably going to be closer to his career average of 60 or 70 targets. So the reception should go up. His yards per carry has always been really good. His worst season was in 2021 with 4.1 yards per carry, but last year with the Eagles, 4.6 yards per carry. 2022, 5.5 yards per carry. So he's always been a really efficient player. The general manager's talking him up, and there's really there's really no best friend. I mean, the offensive line's the quarterback's best friend, but the other best friend is the running back there helping him pick up blitz packages and or catching the ball out of the backfield. And by all accounts, Swift has improved in just about every facet of the game. And that's straight from Ryan Poles. So I really believe that he is going to get a higher target share than he got last year with the Eagles. So because I believe that, and because I believe this offense is going to be a lot better, and because he's going to get a lot of red zone touches, and there's not much depth behind him, we all wanted Roschon Johnson to be something. Khalil Herbert, there are rumors that he might not even make the team. We'll see. I really like DeAndre Swift this year. I have him currently ranked as my RB 18. But I think he's got a lot of upside in this offense, because if he gets double-digit touchdowns, I think that's really all I need to propel him to be a top 10 running back.
Yeah, no, I like that take a lot. I actually just traded for DeAndre Swift in the Trade Gods Invitational League. I traded Alvin Kamara for DeAndre Swift and Adam Thielen just to kind of close that gap a little bit. I have Bryce Young, so I figured I'd go for the Thielen. But I mean, I'm going 4 years younger and still getting some of that receiving upside on a much more exciting Chicago offense. I like it a lot. I mean, we saw him play 16 games last year in Philadelphia, 200 plus rush attempts, 1,000 rush yards, and as you mentioned, a career low in receptions and receiving yards, and that's going to go up in Chicago. Still finished with 24th highest points per game, and going off the board is the RB 25 right now. So literally, in a year where he wasn't as productive as he's normally been, at least in the efficiency metrics, is still, performed better than where he's going right now. In the RB20 in Dynasty on Player Profiler, and like behind Blake Corum and Alvin Kamara, Tyjae Spears, Kyron Williams, barely ahead of Derrick Henry, David Montgomery, or Ramondre Stevenson. This is a player who used to be a top 5 Dynasty asset or Dynasty running back. Like, we were so hyped on him in Detroit. Still, all the athleticism is there, and it seems to me that his year in Philadelphia last year was a nice get-right year for him. I think he's right back on track. And now he's going back to the NFC North, gets to play the Lions twice a year. The Chicago Bears have watched him kind of tear up the division efficiently. Now they get him. I think it's going to be pretty creative usage for him. I do think he'll be back up there in 50-plus receptions probably next year. And I'm very much excited. I see here in the chat that he shouldn't be more than a 45% snap share guy. In Philadelphia last year, where he was able to play all 16 out of 17 games, had a 58% snap share, had 66% of the opportunities. That's fine. That is plenty. And I think it'll probably be even more in Chicago, to be honest. Like, we haven't heard anything about Khalil Herbert, like you said, might even get cut. And Roschon Johnson, not just quiet in the preseason, but quiet throughout training camp, quiet throughout all last year. It just literally seems like it's just not happening. So yeah, I like that take a lot, Seth. That should do it for our show sheet, but I definitely want to let you go ahead and tell the people where they can find you, tell them about what's going on with the roundtable in particular. But yeah, here are your plugs.
Yeah, so the Dynasty Roundtable, you can find it on my YouTube channel. So if you search Seth Diewold, SETHDIEWOLD on YouTube, you can find the roundtable there. We are doing that on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. So that is where the roundtable is now. And the reason for that is we're trying to grow. We wanted to see, like, and I gave this terrible analogy that my wife's like, why do you keep saying you need to go out into the woods and kill a bear? Well, I say that because we're trying to organically grow my channel, and we're trying to make the Dynasty Roundtable its own thing. So thank you to Player Profiler for hosting it for I think for 2 years, I think is what it was. But that's where it is now. So go subscribe, go watch it there. And as always, I'm still the editor at Player Profiler. So go check out the articles. So the articles page Player Profiler has one of the best home pages in fantasy football. So you got to go check out the articles. They're absolutely free, along with a lot of the other stuff that I still can't believe Player Profiler puts out for free every day. So yeah, those are my plugs, and go follow me on Twitter. I just got over 1,000 followers. So thanks to everybody who is following me over on Twitter or over on the X or whatever the Y or the Z or whatever it's called these days. Seth_Diewold on Twitter too.
Yes, and you are doing a thread a day. You are crushing it over there.
Trying to get a thread out a day. We'll tackle the 105 today. So if you have the 105, we're using ESPN's rankings, and I'm looking at Yahoo's too. Those seem to be the two most popular, and sleepers mixed in. So yeah, we're pushing out a thread a day, and go check it out over there on the X.
Yes, definitely go follow Seth everywhere on Twitter, on definitely his YouTube channel. Great content coming out, not just the roundtable, but your own personal videos and analysis as well. Keep up the great work, man. Thank you for joining me. For sure. Loved having you on. Loved your takes. We'll get you back on throughout the year, of course. And that should do it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. You were a thunderbolt audience yet again. You all have a terrific Tuesday and a wonderful rest of your week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.